Welcome to this week's Down Home with Tina. If you have never had the opportunity to hear one of those officials that are out on the basketball court talk and share things, well, you're going to get the chance to today. I've got a fella who he has done and officiating for young kids all the way up to pro basketball, and he's just a great guy. His name is James Ford. You don't want to miss it. Just amazing. As a matter of fact, we had so much to talk about. He's probably going to be up guest on one of my upcoming podcasts, so that way we can go into more detail and more depth of things. But anyways, also I have got a gal by the name of Jill Henwood. She has been a choreographer before, and she's been directing plays recently, a children's theater, one of the high schools in the county. So you want to hear what's coming up with her and what she's got going on over in the village of Baltimore. You are watching Down Home with Tina, and I will be back in just a minute.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Life is unpredictable. That's why estate planning is important. Estate planning provides you comfort and peace of mind knowing that you're taking care of your loved ones and ensuring your legacy lives on just as you envisioned. You lived a life that is beautifully and uniquely yours. You deserve an estate planning attorney who understands that and creates a plan as unique as you and in the best interest of your loved ones. You deserve the local, trusted, experienced attorneys at Dagger Law.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. I'm really excited because I have a fellow who I met him at one of the Lancaster Thunder games, and he is an official referee, as a lot of folks know you as, but the official title is an official.
Right.
For basketball.
Right.
And you do a lot of other different things as well. But James Ford,
Correct.
Thank you so much for taking the time and spending with me. And when I had the conversation with you, it was really brief, and at that game that evening. And I was just like, I'd love to have somebody on just because there's so much, I think, that society and those who go to basketball games, and you teach or you officiate, you are also a trainer.
Right,
so
I play,
all ages.
I do everything.
All ages, and want to find out all about that. But I just felt like it was so important that folks don't get to often, if ever, hear the side of what an official goes through and what it's like and some of the things. So I'm just so excited to have the conversation with you today. Yeah. Please share with folks, why did you decide to become an official?
Well, I actually, all right. Technically, I decided because I had a cousin of mine pass away, and he was an official. So him and I always talked, and he always talked to me about, at least giving it a 1 year, because I was deep into basketball. I never wanted to be an official, and to me back then they were the enemy, so I wasn't trying to be an official. Yeah. But when that happened, it kind of struck me in a way that was kind of like, okay, let me try it. My uncles, friends, family members, they've been, officials as well. So when I did it, it was a rough year, first year for me, because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Really?
And they start you off at like little children. So it's kind of like tedious work, but you don't realize that you're like gaining the education of what you need for it to become a good official.
Really?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be really tough for the little ones? Because goodness, talking about fouls and calling all kinds of things throughout the game when it's the young ones.
Yeah, and I was actually over at Ewing in Lancaster.
Oh,
that's
okay.
where I started off in Lancaster doing all my games.
Nice.
The best part about being official to me is like understanding your communication. Because to be an official, well, I'll say for the most part, you got to be a good communicator.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that's be to your partner, the table, whatever, but most importantly to whoever you're officiating.
You need to know how to talk to them.
Exactly, because everything is in how you say it nowadays. So if you're able to express what you need to based off a call, a rule, whatever, that kind of puts you up in a higher echelon of being an official for me.
Had you had a lot of interaction with the younger kids prior to going out there and becoming an official for these games?
Just like the kids coming to games, like to watch me play, or I mean, I've always grown up with like little kids, like my cousins, you know, my siblings, whatever. So I've always taken a very like good approach to being able to be, you know, soft with them to make sure they understand. And it could be something as simple as crossing the street, looking both ways, like being able to explain it so that they understand that you're teaching them, not telling them what to do.
Nice. And that is probably something you had to incorporate when you switched to older kids, even especially big kids, not big kids, teenagers and up to adults.
Right. Because I basically officiated from kids that are in first grade all the way up to pro. And there's a level at each place that you have to be at.
What's it like for you when you are out there and when you're officiating for the younger and when you have parents in the stands? Because I know as you get older, then you've got the spouses or the girlfriends or the
definitely,
still parents
usually
as they get older. But what it's like for the younger and parents, and what can we talk to them about for them to get to understand more of what you go through, James, and what you are doing out there?
I think for me, though, I don't want to speak badly about them, because I have parents as well. I have a grandmother, you know, who could get irate at times at my games or whatever. I think the best way for me to describe that situation is everyone in the stands, they want to feel like they have value. They want to feel like whatever they're saying matters. Now, they may not always come across the correct way, but that's why you have to have that interaction, not just with the players, the coach, with the fans, and let them know, like, hey, I'm doing the best that I can. And also, too, knowing the difference between an explanation and an excuse.
There you go, yeah.
So I'm very comfortable with talking to people during timeouts, halftime, even after the game, because I'm a very approachable person. Because it also makes for the next time I see you or you see someone else, you and I have had this discussion and you carry that over into what you do the next time. So if you see another official do the same thing, I'm basically helping them out in that respect, because it's kind of like now you're not yelling at him about a rule you don't understand because I taught you what it is.
Right. So from the younger to when you move into the older kids, what is the biggest difference in trying to get along and communicate with them?
Parents being outraged by calls. Because there's a simple form of like chain of command when it comes to how people get irate. First it starts with the fans, then it starts with the coach, and then it starts with the players.
Ouch, but you're right.
You know what I mean? Because they're going to follow whatever they see, especially when they're younger, because they're not only seeing their parents do it, they're seeing their coach do it. So now they think it's okay to yell at me or another official, which is why I do things like in the beginning of the game, I get the officials together with the coaches and even the people at the table, because sometimes the people at the table are pulled from the stands.
Yeah.
So normally when you come from the stands to the table, your job at that point is to take stats, not to be a fan too. Because you technically are doing a job for me or for the game.
Yeah.
You can't be yelling at me because, you know, we're going right by you, opposed to where the stands might be, where they might be like 10 feet away from you. Yeah. So I hear everything you're saying when I go by you if you have something to say.
So what is the role for those who do the stats? In your eyes.
So basically it's just you taking stats. It's basically you're looking at us, you know, do numbers, give you fouls, stuff like that, stop the clock, whatever, timeouts. Yeah. That's basically what you're supposed to do. Now, mind you, again, as I said before, I have no problem talking to people, but there's a time and place for everything. I can't explain to you during the game about a call. That's for you to make sure that you're like, okay, I'm going to meet you halfway. I know that you'll explain it to me and let me know, so I'll just wait.
And I think also sometimes the spectators, it may just be somebody who's sitting next to them and they don't know whether it was a good, bad call or what it was, but they're still like, oh, well, they said it bad, it must be bad. So then you have
right.
a whole group of people yelling at you.
Exactly.
And it really probably wasn't a bad call.
Right.
Maybe.
Now it was one. Now it's like 80 people like following suit. Like, you know what? You're probably right. That wasn't, boo. Like, so now it's just like, oh man. Now you got to explain this to 80 people.
How do you get past that part of it, James?
I tune it out because my job as an official is to officiate the game and make sure, the pandemonium is at a standstill within the game. Everything outside of the game, the stands, that's not our job. That's actually like if there's police there or administrators there, that's their job.
I know that you're all working together, the officials, for the best that you can when you get out there to officiate a game. How do you guys stay together and on the same page with things? And
Communication.
Communication. What do you think maybe helps an official become a better official, not to compare you against those others, because if you got somebody watching, they'll be like, oh, James thinks he's better than me.
No,
but what do you think helps to make you a better and become better and better as an official?
Just feeling like there's nothing, like you can always learn something. Mm-hmm. Like you're never going to be perfect at anything you do. There's always going to be something you can do better or you can kind of tweak. So that's how I look at it. I never, and a lot of times when you're an official, you might get with someone who you're just butting heads with.
Yeah.
You still got a job to do. And I feel like as long as you're doing your job, there's nothing really anybody can say to you. Right. I mean, they're going to say it, but as far as you personally, you got to feel like you did everything you possibly can to get past these things. But communication is really where it's at. And plus, too, the assigners that we have, it's one of those things like, say you and I are doing the game and we just don't mesh. The next time there's a game, we probably won't be paired again.
Okay.
And to me, a lot of times it's about relationships.
Yes.
Like you and I could be good for certain types of games, but when it comes to maybe older kids, you're still officiating like they're younger.
You have to respect each other.
Right. So, and then too, I take your advice, you take mine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we are a team. And we have to get past this for however many minutes we're out there.
And again, you have the spectators, you have the coaches, and then you have the kids when it can trickle right down to the kids. What was it like when you were younger growing up and watching the officials and what your experience was?
Mine was a little bit different because I was, even now I still play basketball.
Awesome.
I mean, I played at a high level, and for me, it was when I was younger, I kind of didn't even know they were there half the time, honestly, because I was so engaged in playing basketball, having fun, enjoying it. I wasn't worried about officials.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
you also not only do that, because we've only got a couple minutes left, but you train as well, and you train at all ages, right?
Yes.
And what would you like to share about that, James? Before.
Well, my business is called From the Ground Up, and I say that because that's a very traditional way to say, sometimes you got to start from scratch. And, a lot of these kids, they don't have the fundamentals to get better because they see they watch TV, NBA, that's aesthetics to me. Like, you got to really get down to the grit of where it starts and become your own person. And that's what I do.
Yeah, I love it. What is your contact information for that, or do you have a Facebook website or anything?
Yes,
like
I
that?
actually I have a phone number.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah.
But you want me to give that to you?
That's up to you.
Yeah. So my phone number is 614-600-9124, and that's basically just that's like my business line. So
perfect. From the ground up.
Correct.
Awesome. So if you ever see James, say hi. But before we go, I have a little gift for you. I always make people cookies and everything, but a little Down Henwood Tina mug.
Oh,
You're stuck with. You can even. I have a friend of mine. Pens, whatever you want. See, we love. I love mugs. I love tea, coffee, whatever. And another little gift in here, just for being an inspiration to folks, the youth, the older, the younger, all ages, and what you do.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you so much.
You're
Yay,
welcome.
folks. It is so great. I love talking about things that don't always get to be talked about right here on Down Henwood Tina. And don't go anywhere. I'll be back in just a minute with my next guest.
Tonight, we've got a great one for you. The Blue Carroll Bulldogs. It was a great week of practice. Even in the rain and the weather, we had a great week of practice. Schneider, lots of running room to midfield. He's gone. Ryan Schneider down the near sideline for a touchdown for the Aces. Rebels
hold on the offense, number 20. That penalty will be declined. They'll bring up fourth down.
We're going to give you this game ball here because you're a Tiberios fan of the game, and thanks for being here, Jacob.
Thank you.
The Polar Bears are your OAC tournament champions, first time since 2009. What an exciting finish for the Ohio Northern Polar Bears.
And be very proud of this trophy because you've earned it.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. I have Jill Henwood with me. She is with the Victoria Players Children's Theater.
Yes.
And then she's also involved with Liberty Union, their musicals. You've been directing that for the last couple of years.
Yes.
And I'm just excited to find out all about what you do because you have a lot to do with being in theater. And I got to know you from like Bremen a long time ago.
The
do they even do
Hysterical
that?
Society
Yes.
Theater.
Do
No,
they do that?
They
I
don't
didn't
do it.
think.
So we used to do an annual Hysterical Society dinner theater, and we would write these really, really funny plays and have, mediocre actors. We all thought we were great, but it made it even more funny that we didn't really know what we were doing. And that was so, I would love to do that again. The problem was that with some of the changes in food service laws that they couldn't keep serving food. And so it ended up it wasn't profitable enough for them. So, but I have talked to the Victoria Opera House about possibly starting a version in Baltimore and having them there. The problem is my husband grew up in Bremen, and so he knows all of the history and could write because we made fun of some things
of your area.
And I grew up in
Bremen.
Baltimore, but I don't, and so he's like, I don't know if I can write funny about Baltimore. And I'm like, we can figure it out. So maybe someday there will be one.
Not to get serious, but I remember working up there at one time. I worked at a bank. They were separate.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't want to be together.
No.
So that may be not an easy thing to do. That's what I'm saying. I mean, out of actual truth to that.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of people in Baltimore or in
Basel.
Basel who that are still a little bit
so
salty.
It is tough to try to bring that in because it might not be so funny.
It might not be funny to some people. Yeah. And I'm sure some of the stuff that we did in Bremen wasn't funny to some people, but we just thought it was hilarious.
You gotta laugh, you gotta have fun. Life's too short, I think,
Those were so fun. So fun.
So what have you been doing in recent years then?
I direct for Liberty Union Musical Theater. I came into that as their choreographer because I had, I grew up dancing and singing and all of that, and I got a lot of jobs just doing choreography for different shows and show choirs and cheerleading competitions and all of that stuff. Yeah. And they were needing somebody to do choreography for Annie, and nice. I came in and did the choreography, and Mrs. Fisher, who is their choir director, is fantastic. They're so lucky to have her. And she was like, why don't you come back and help direct the next time? And we did Beauty and the Beast, and she was like, why don't you go ahead and just direct? And so she does all the music direction, and she does all the hard stuff on the back end, the producing, and then I get to have fun and direct with the kids. And
nice.
Yeah, so it's been a really, really great experience, even through COVID. We just like everybody else, we had a COVID show, and it got postponed, but we did end up getting to do Matilda in the summer of 2021, and thankfully, Liberty Union let anybody who was in the original production come back. So, like, we had graduates from 2021, we had graduates from 2020 that got to come back. Yeah, so
and one of my
just such a good experience.
One of my past guests, Reese Shirey.
Oh,
was
yes.
in Matilda.
Yes, she was in Matilda.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that on
gosh,
social
yeah.
media.
Yeah, and she did so great. She had a little solo in the second half. And
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to continue to keep doing that.
Yes, yeah.
And then you do the children's theater.
And then I've been involved with Victoria Players Children's Theater since 2018. And, you know, we went through a kind of a restructuring couple of years. And then 2020 hit, and so we had to kind of take a break. But we did some really fun things in 2020 that we did some online musicals.
Oh, nice.
We also partnered with another musical theater and did what was called a duets. And I learned a lot about technology and videoing and sound recording because, you know, they had to record themselves and send it to me, and then I edited it together. And so even
neat.
through 2020, you know, you know, there have been a few good things that have come from all of that.
We've all had to kind of grow, I think, in the technology kind of side of things.
Yeah. So,
at that time.
But yeah, so the Victoria Players Children's Theater is thriving. We had a really great production in 2021 of It's a Wonderful Life. And 35 kids in the Victoria Opera House.
Is it just the Baltimore area, or is this for everybody?
It's that's the really nice thing about doing theater. My kids, because my kids are involved in it, they have friends from all over the county. We can go to any school in our county, even in Perry County and some, you know, in other counties, because kids have come down and they know somebody. And it's just, it's a great relationship building tool. And then they can stand up and do, you know, class projects and speak in front of people, and they don't have any problem. So,
and that's exactly with what my last show I was talking about, doing something with Garrett players.
Oh yes, yeah.
And that really is something that I'm like helped me to be able to do what I'm doing now. You know, so it does. It teaches them to be able to stand up and speak. And not be stage fright or have stage fright, be afraid to do it. Yeah, I totally agree. So you have a production that you're working on now?
So right now we're working on The Giver at the VPCT, Victoria Players, we call it VPCT. It's a smaller production. We have 8 kids in the cast. And it's more of a learning production that we're doing because there's 8 rules. And so we're doing 2 shows, and each show will be different because they're going to take a different character. I wanted to kind of, you know, give them a little bit more on, okay, so, you know, maybe you're the giver in one show and he's like this very serious, you know, man, but maybe you're the father in the other show who is a little bit aloof, and you know, and you have to figure out how to play them differently. And so
become a different character.
It's really good for them.
And so you're teaching both at the same time for them for one night and then the next night.
Yeah.
How's that working with them? I mean, they're kids, and kids.
You know, they're
can be
doing
pretty
fantastic. Yeah, they're doing great, and you can see we've been maybe about a month and a half that we've been in rehearsals for The Giver. We have about a month left.
Okay.
And yeah, they're growing, you know, just in that month and a half, which I love.
Oh, watching them, I bet, is just makes your heart smile, doesn't it? When you're just like, they got it.
Yeah.
When is the production, and do you have dates?
So that production
and times
is May 21st, and there's a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m., and that's the only day that we're going to do it.
Okay, how many productions will you do a year?
We do 3 productions a year. We're getting ready to audition for SpongeBob.
Okay, and what dates? Do you have the audition dates and times
audition
for
dates
folks?
are April 30th and May 1st coming up next
yes,
weekend.
yes.
And then the production's July 22nd through the 24th.
Wonderful. And then how can folks follow you?
You can get on our website, vpctheater.com. Or we're on social media. We have Instagram and Facebook. And
all of that good and fun stuff that you can do. Anything else you wanted to share with us, Jill?
I think that's good. Go see a live show. There's so many good live shows in our area. Just go out and support the theater. And then, you know, Lancaster Festival's coming up, and there'll be live shows. And we're going to actually do a a teaching moment during the festival with the
you will?
BPCT. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I
You
think
know
it's on
daytime?
Thursday at the Decorative Arts Center.
I'm sure it's in the programs.
Yeah.
So pay attention to what's happening there. Jill, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having
me.
me.
You'll have to come back in the future. We've got more things going on.
Yeah.
She's always got something
I
like
too.
me, folks. So it's awesome things. Alrighty. Folks, don't go anywhere. I'm going to be right back. It's Down Home with Tina.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Down Home with Tina is brought to you by these amazing sponsors. You can watch the show on Spectrum 1021 cable channel. You can also go to YouTube if you're a YouTuber, CLN Your Hometown Connection, and look for the Down Home with Tina playlist. Also, catch it on Facebook, that form of social media, on Down Home with Tina as well. Oh my goodness. So I have what I have been told by Josh, a milestone, which it is. Many people will call it a milestone birthday coming up. And my birthday is on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, woohoo! I always say they're partying for my birthday. No, just on my birthday. I am one of those who, when I turned 30, it didn't bother me. I used to have friends say, oh my goodness, I want to be 30 this year, those I graduated with. This is just not going to be, I'm not looking forward to it. They spent a day in bed, just sulking over it. Same when 40 hit, and then 50 has come around. And I sent my best friend a message when it was about to be her 50th birthday. And I was like, so are you ready to be the big 5-0? And she said, and I go, I am. And she said, well, I'm glad one of us is. I think the reason why that me turning 50 is something that I'm proud to do is because when you look at the bigger spectrum of things, especially with what we've all faced and been through in the last couple of years, a lot of people don't make it to 50, folks. And so if we can just kind of turn our minds and have that mindset of thinking of it that way, that might kind of sound a little bit morbid, but to me, it sounds to me like I'm just celebrating life, and I'm glad that I'm here for another year, another day to celebrate that big milestone. And with that being said, it doesn't matter what age you are when you try something new or you do something new. If you have something that you're passionate about in your life, it was, goodness, a couple of years ago, I had written a story, and somebody from local magazine, Cher, the Lancaster Living magazine, had reached out to me about writing in her magazine. So I finally did it. I don't know, you call it enough guts, because I am one that always believes in trying and doing. So I did it. And I had a friend of mine reach out to me, and I know we're going to get out of here in just a few seconds, so I want to read what this text message was to me. And I'm a firm believer from the very first time I got my radio show, moving into television and doing everything that I've done, is that I have at least tried, and I hope to make a positive difference somehow, some way. So I'm going to leave you with what she said. I just read your article in Lancaster Living. It brought tears to my eyes. Such true words of advice. I tore it out of the magazine and will read it often to remind me to savor the most important things in life. Love you, girl. So that came from a friend of mine to tell me about something that I did that I never thought that I could. I tried it and I did it, and here I am. I want you to try it if it is passion and in your heart. It doesn't matter if you're turning 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90. Just do it. God bless. Thanks for watching. Until next time, good day.